welcome back to the channel for another video today. I hope that you're having a great start to your week and happy Tuesday. Today we are going to be discussing inflammation. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I actually talked about this in a video where I was going over several different disease processes and several different functions in the body that are improved with the use of GLP1s. I will try to remember to link that one down below if you want to go back and check that one out. But inflammation was one of those main topics within that video, speaking about all of the different ways that GLP1s can lower inflammation within the body, and more so all of the different areas in the body that GLP-1s can lower inflammation. And that really got me thinking, like, how does it actually happen? Like, is there words to put behind what actually happens in the body when you use a GLP-1 to lower inflammation, and how that translates into benefits for all of us, and more than just weight loss beyond the use of GLP-1s, right? So my little brain was like, I got to figure this out. So I did quite a deep dive on this, and I am really excited to share what I have found with you guys. If you like knowing how things work and how it all goes together, this is definitely a video for you. So I hope that you'll stick around and keep watching. We're just going to jump right on into it. So most of us know that GLP-1 is a naturally occurring hormone in the body that helps with blood sugar regulation, okay? That is something that, it's formed in the gut, helps with blood sugar regulation. That's a big reason why the GLP-1 works, right? To help us all to lose weight. But GLP-1s actually have a very large anti-inflammatory benefit in several different body systems that arguably is pretty cool, and even cooler than the decreased appetite or whatever, just because the way the anti-inflammatory works within the body helps all of these other disease processes. And so it's almost like the anti-inflammatory train takes us to lower risk of all of these other things. And we're going to talk about what I mean when I say that. So, we're talking metabolic disorders, cardiovascular disorders, neurodegenerative disorders such as Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, that are all related and all decreased by having lower inflammation within your body. So again, really cool. There are 5 main ways that GLP-1s work to reduce inflammation within the body. Now, this is when we're going to get sciencey for a little bit, and talk about, biology and names and cells and all of that, but it is really so cool, I promise. So number 1 is that the GLP-1s help to reduce pro-inflammatory cytokines. I don't know if I'm saying that word right. It's cytokines. So cytokines or cytokines. So there are 3 main types of cytokines. I'm just going to say cytokines. The TNF-A, the IL-6, and the IL-IB. So GLP-1s help to reduce all 3 of those varieties. And what they do is they play a role in chronic inflammation within the body. So we're talking systemic inflammation everywhere within the body. So we're talking lower cardiovascular disease, lower insulin resistance, all of that can be benefited from the reducing of the cytokines within the body. So these cytokines are known to be everywhere in your body, right? So this is really the one that helps with systemic inflammation. Okay, it even is known to lower inflammation on the brain, which is why so many people say that they have lower levels of brain fog, that they're able to function better, all of that. Also, before I forget to say it, my light died. And so I'm sitting where I thought there was better lighting, but it's still not that great. So it is what it is today. It's on the charger for next time, but my light died. So that's why the lighting's a little bit worse than it usually is. Okay, anyway, number 2 is the modulation of immune cells. So inflammation is actually a response that happens within the immune system. So it's an inflammatory response, happens within the immune system. So what the GLP-1s help to do is create this shift of inflammatory and non-inflammatory macrophages. So there are 2 different types of macrophages found within the immune cells. One is called the just plain macrophage, and that is an inflammatory thing. And then the MZ macrophages are non-inflammatory. So typically when you have an inflammatory response, the macrophages, the inflammatory ones, are kind of the ones that get produced and they get activated within the body, and they trigger the inflammation response, okay? When you take your GLP-1, there begins this shift where you start to see them this one isn't triggered as often, it's triggered less, and then this one is triggered more and more. And so you get less of an inflammatory response because more of the non-inflammatory macrophages are being activated. So I thought that was pretty cool. So it's essentially just that it's turning off the activation of inflammation within your body, which is so cool, right? Number 3 is the reduction of oxidative stress. Okay, so what happens is it enhances antioxidant enzyme expression, which reduces tissue damage, which we all know that tissue damage, I mean, think of it like this. Think of when you go and you fall and you hurt your arm, or you fall and you break something, right? What usually happens right after? You swell. So when tissue is significantly damaged, inflammation comes right after that. So what this does is it helps to prevent that. Okay, so you have, again, less all over systematic damage, because we're not just talking, obviously, tissue damage from a fall or whatever. Like, you can have tissue damage in all different areas of your body for all different reasons, and inflammation is triggered the same way from an injury from falling or from tissue damage otherwise. It's triggered the same way. So that's a good example to think of it like that, though. Like, when you fall. So I wonder, here goes my brain again. I wonder if those on a GLP-1 would be prone to less swelling from a fall or from something like that. And I haven't fallen or hurt anything majorly since I have been on a GLP-1, but I would be interested to know. So if you have, let me know. I want to know. It would make sense, right? If less of if all of this is going on within the body at all times, it makes sense that the inflammatory response would be less. So yeah, I want to know. Let me know your thoughts. Okay, number 4, big words coming in this one. It's the improvement in endothelial function. So it improves endothelial nitric oxide production. Okay, and what that does, from what I could find in layman's term, is reduces vascular inflammation and improves blood vessel function. So now we're getting into improved your veins and your arteries working better at all times, right? So now we're getting into the cardiovascular benefits, for heart attack, stroke, and all of that types of stuff. Is inflammation the driving force, right? Because we know that there are people who are prescribing, cardiologists and stuff like that. Oh, there's Chris. Are prescribing Wegovy for cardiovascular events and for prevention and all of that. But is inflammation the driving force to all of that? I'd be interested to read some more studies on that. I actually had reached out to a couple PA friends of mine that are also affiliates with Orderly, and reached out and asked them for some study data on Alzheimer's, because there are, they have access to, as providers, other stuff that I don't have access to. And so they actually sent me some cool study information on what is going on currently within the study process of GLP-1s and Alzheimer's and its effect on neurodegenerative processes. And so I haven't deep dived on that one yet. I kind of saved those away for a day when I have a lot of time to sit through and read a lot of stuff. But like, they also, like, I'm wondering if I'm going to be like, hey, what can y'all tell me about inflammation within the body and within the blood vessels and within the arteries, and how that transfers to the cardiovascular benefits of GLP-1, and is the inflammation the driving force? Another thing that is well noted within most of the research that I did, when we're talking about improved vascular function, we're talking about like lower plaque disease chances, because if your veins are less inflammatory and functioning better, then the plaque process should be less as well. So come on, y'all, this is cool. Like, I can't be the only one that's like geeking out over this and like how it all works in the body. Meanwhile, when I was in school, I hated biology and anything to do with it, and chemistry and all of that. But now I'm like, this is so cool, like, as an adult. Number 5. So I'm hoping I can explain this one well. So it inhibits the inhibition of the NF-κB pathway. So it suppresses the NF-κB pathway, which is the master regulator of inflammation. Okay, so now we have the modulation, the immune cells, the macrophages switching over from inflammatory not being triggered to the non-inflammatory being triggered. And now we also have the inflammatory pathway, the master regulator, this pathway, the NF-κB pathway, being reduced. So now we have the reduction reduces the expression of many inflammatory genes. So we have all of these different processes, the pathways getting reduced. The cells themselves are getting reduced. The cytokines aren't even getting produced in the same way as they were before. So we have cells being affected. We have immune cells within the immune cells being affected, whether it's being inflammatory or non-inflammatory. And now we have the pathway being infected. So it's not just working on one little area within the body. You know, it's not just doing one of these things. You have multiple ways and multiple facets coming at you to create this like bomb of positivity within the body. So what does this mean for us, right? So like in layman's terms, we could read all this and we'd be like, oh, that's really cool, right? But how does that translate in the world for us and our health? I'm glad you asked. I can share some of that with you too, because I went further than just the science of it. I want to know how it helps me, right? Because that's the main thing that we all want to know. So for a diabetic, it lowers systematic inflammation, meaning overall your metabolic function is going to be better. Your insulin pathways are going to work better with lower inflammation everywhere in the body. And once the insulin is released into the body through the pathways and through the signaling within the pancreas, it's going to do more of what it's supposed to do and function better overall with lower systemic inflammation. How is it going to help obesity? Again, reducing chronic inflammation in your fat tissue. So adipose fat tissue, adipose fat tissue, actually harbors a lot of inflammatory cells. Those are going to be lower within that tissue now. And so it is going to allow your with lower inflammation, again, your whole body's just going to function better. So the fat tissue itself is going to be more susceptible to the healing process and all of that than it would have been with all of these extra inflammatory cells. Cardiovascular disease, you're going to reduce your vascular inflammation, you're going to improve your blood pressure and your plaque stability. So that is what we were talking about with the plaque thing, your plaque buildup and stuff like that a couple of minutes ago. Neuroinflammation. So this one is what I think could be, I mean, it's all a game changer, right? But for years and years and years and years, decades, there has been no significant improvement. I was trying to think of the word I meant to say, but that's not even it. But there's been no significant working towards any type of cure or prevention or anything for some of these major neurodegenerative disorders like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. If you got Alzheimer's or if you got dementia or if you got Parkinson's disease, it was a chronic, life-ending in the end thing. Something that you most likely would have to live with for a while, and unless you have like late stage Alzheimer's being diagnosed and then, you know, maybe not. But now we have a GLP-1 and it's being studied. Again, that's my next deep dive. It's being studied within the medical space on how it can be a protective barrier against the development of Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease. So the word is that GLP-1 analogs may have protective effects in diseases like Alzheimer's, and studies are currently underway and are moving very fast and having very positive results so far. Again, I have pages and pages of a study that was sent to me through, again, stuff that I don't have access to because I'm not a medical professional, you know, all those special websites they got access to, that's I'm really interested to read. I think, you know, if you have ever seen or been around somebody that has a disease like Alzheimer's. I've actually never been around anybody with Parkinson's, but Alzheimer's I have. It's awful. It's heartbreaking, and it's heartbreaking for you to watch, but it's got to be worse for them. I mean, could you imagine the frustration? And it's just, I think that the ability to prevent a lot of these future generations from having something like that through the use of a GLP-1 because of the anti-inflammatory properties is just like so cool. So another way I can relate to this and the anti-inflammatory thing is, you know how if you are somebody that has a like predisposition to heart attack or stroke, whatever, they tell you to take a baby aspirin every day to, you know, help with anti-inflammations because NSAIDs, that's what they're anti-inflammatories, that's what they do. Is GLP-1 use going to be like a better alternative for that? You know, I just had that pop up in my brain as well. You guys know that, like, as I talk to myself, I get ideas and I share them with you guys. So that is something that I'm writing down right now so that I could try to do a little bit more research on. because again, I mean, there might not be, that might be a really early statement and there might not be much about that yet, versus GLP1s, but like, how cool is that? I went to the doctor last week, right? You guys know that. And he was like, I don't want to say it's magic, but it's like magic. And I'm like, I know, right? He's like, and people said metformin was magic, but this is nothing compared. Metformin is nothing compared to what GLP-1s can do. So I just thought, like, come on, that's so cool. So I hope that you enjoyed this. Let me know what your thoughts are on this type of stuff. And again, I do want to know how you have noticed a shift in the inflammation of your body since starting a GLP-1. I can tell you that my carpal tunnel is gone, which is an inflammatory response. I can tell you that my brain fog is gone. I think so much more clearly. And I actually, you know what? I can say that I don't swell like I'm somebody that swells a lot, like in the summer if I go outside, and I don't do that as much anymore. So, maybe that is an answer in terms of like the whole being hurt and getting inflamed type of thing. But I have noticed significant improvement in my body function, so much so now that I can kind of tell what's going on in my body when things are happening. Like I can pretty much at all times be like, oh, I need to drink some water, or oh, I need to go to the bathroom, or I need to do this. Whereas before, when I was at my heaviest and my unhealthiness, I had no clue what was going on. I had no clue what was out of whack because everything was out of whack. Whereas now, if something's a little bit off, I can tell what it is. And again, maybe just because overall my whole body is functioning better through lower systemic inflammation. So of course, I want to know what your thoughts are on this down below. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Tomorrow, I am doing a high protein, easy, what I eat in a day video. And then on Thursday, we will have Melissa's interview for you guys. So we got some great content coming this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.